Evelyn Graves drove into the countryside to forget. She wanted to escape the divorce, the constant city noise, and the feeling that her world was crowded with memories that were no longer hers to keep. When she found the little farmhouse on the edge of a dead wheat field, it felt as if silence itself had been waiting just for her. The wind here was strange. It didn't pass through, it circled, as if trapped. On her very first night, lying in bed, she heard them faint murmurs coming from the field. They sounded like 1,000 distant voices whispering secrets buried under the soil, a chorus that rose and fell with the beat of her own heart. The locals at the diner had a way of describing things. They said the land was old. They said it the same way people say a scar is old, a memory of pain that lingers long after the body has forgotten. They warned her, with knowing glances, not to walk past the scarecrow at night. But Evelyn had never believed in curses. She believed in loneliness, and she knew that loneliness can make a person intensely curious. By her third night in the farmhouse, the whispers from the field were growing clearer. They were forming words now, words that seemed to mirror the deepest corners of her mind. "You left him, didn't you?" they whispered. "You buried more than love." She tried to laugh it off, pouring another drink to steady her nerves. It was just the wind, she told herself, rattling the dry stalks of wheat. Nothing more. Then, one evening, as dusk settled over the fields, she saw it. Someone or something was standing near the scarecrow. It was a tall, thin shape, its head bent at an impossible angle, as if listening intently to something deep underground. She blinked, and it was gone. But the next morning, the proof was there, pressed deep into the cracked, dry dirt. A set of footprints. Her phone lost its signal completely. The clocks inside the house began to behave erratically, their hands running backward for a few minutes just after midnight. She tried to call the realtor, to ask about the strange occurrences. But every time she lifted the receiver, a faint whisper came through the line. A single, chilling word: stay. By the end of the week, sleep had become a dangerous territory. Every time she closed her eyes, she was plunged into the same nightmare. The field teeming with bodies growing like twisted roots beneath the soil. Their mouths were open, their hair swaying like grass in a phantom wind. The scarecrow became a silent, watchful sentinel. Its head would turn slowly toward her bedroom window each night, a movement she never witnessed, but always knew had happened. The townsfolk, once a source of small comfort, became distant strangers. The store clerk wouldn't meet her gaze. Her calls went unanswered. The isolation was no longer just a feeling, it was a wall, built brick by brick around her. Then the storm came. It wasn't a normal storm. It was a black wall of rain that hovered just above the wheat, a dark ceiling that never reached the ground. From her porch, Evelyn watched as the field bent in unnatural patterns, spiraling inward as though something enormous and ancient was breathing just beneath the surface. She ran inside, locking the doors, but it was too late. The whispers were no longer outside. They were inside the house with her. They threaded through the cracks in the old wood. Whispering in voices, she recognized her father, her ex-husband, even her own. "Dig," they pleaded, a unified chorus of the lost. "Set us free." Trembling, but compelled by a force she couldn't understand, she took a lantern and walked out into the field. She felt herself being drawn toward the scarecrow's post. A flash of lightning illuminated the scene, and for a split second, she saw it. Dozens of faces stitched into the burlap of the scarecrow's chest, their mouths gruesomely sewn shut with wire. Beneath its post, the dirt was freshly turned, damp, though not a drop of rain had fallen. She fell to her knees, her hands clawing desperately at the soil. The deeper she dug, the louder the voices grew, now filled with a strange excitement. "Almost there, Evelyn," they chanted. "You're almost one of us." Her fingers struck wood. A box. With trembling hands, she pried it open. Inside was a mirror, perfectly clean and polished. But it didn't reflect her own frightened face. It reflected the open field behind her. And in that reflection, something was crawling out of the wheat. It was pale and faceless, its shape flickering like heat haze on a summer road. She dropped the mirror, but it didn't break. Instead, her own reflection, still trapped within the glass, began to smile. It stepped toward her, emerging from the mirror's surface. At that exact moment, the wind died completely. The world fell into an absolute, deafening silence. And then, the scarecrow began to laugh a low, disturbingly human laugh. She felt something grip her ankles from beneath the soil, pulling her down, inch by inch, into the earth. The last thing she saw was her own reflection reaching down to take her hand, whispering, "Now you'll never be alone." 2 weeks later, the sheriff finally came to check on her. He found the house empty, with no sign of a struggle. Everything was just as it should be, except for one thing. The scarecrow's post had been freshly rebuilt, and hanging from one of its rusty nails was a woman's wedding ring. Travelers who pass by that area now say that at night, you can still hear the whispers rolling across the dead field. They sound soft and pleading, like someone trying to speak through the very roots of the earth. And if you listen closely, they say you can hear a new voice among the woman's voice, calm and familiar, endlessly repeating her own name, Evelyn, Evelyn.